Unfiltered, Freehold Unfiltered, meetings made plain, so you know what changed.
Hello, Freehold. Welcome to Freehold Unfiltered number 8 podcast. Today we'll be speaking about the meeting on Monday, July 13th, and what took place at that meeting. I'd just like to remind everybody who takes a look at the podcast that we would welcome your emails at Freehold Borough taxpayers@gmail.com. That's Freehold, BORO, taxpayers@gmail.com, to send in those questions and comments that you've been doing. Continue those to come. We like the feedback. Anything else you would like to have addressed, please don't hesitate to send those emails in. The meeting started out with the general stuff. We had a resolution was honoring the Freehold area open door grand reopening. They were moved from their old location to a new location. So Freehold area open door is a very positive thing in our town. They help out the needy. They help with food. They're part of the food net in town. Food Stock New Jersey helps them out tremendously, which I help out as well. And my community around here helps out with donations annually. So it's a very good thing that took place, honoring them and their grand reopening to their new house. There was a second resolution that was honoring the William Finley chapter of the New Jersey Demolay on My Government Day. And then there was another one for a Veterans Recognition Program that was presented by Dan Xavier, where they're trying to name streets in the town that for veterans. Dan has put a lot of time and effort into it over the past few years, and he should be commended for that. The presentation was very good. So hopefully that will continue. Under the workshop discussion, there was a community solar presentation done by the gentleman from the BPU. You might want to take a look at that during the meeting. That's on YouTube. We had the administrator's report. The administrator went through several items that are on the horizon in going on in town. A few of those I would just like to point out to you. That 200 Park Avenue, that situation about the housing down there after the planning board denied the convenience store down there and what we got involved in, is now up for sale. So until it gets sold, there'll be no activity going on down there for the building of the apartments that were supposed to take place. One of the other things that was mentioned was the Nestle property and the redevelopment possibilities over there. There is a redeveloper named J.G. Petrucci who potentially plans on demolishing the building, remediating the site, and building a manufacturing plant. They were quick to point out, and Councilwoman Schutzer had them repeat this at the council meeting, that there will be no, and I repeat, no data center over at the Nestle facility, which is a very, very positive thing. It's ironic that Councilwoman Schutzer wanted that repeated because of, as she put it, to get the what's being said out on social media corrected. Well, for somebody who doesn't do social media, I don't know what she's relying on that it's being said out in social media, but she uses that conveniently when she says she's not on social media, yet she can turn around and say what's out there on social media. I, for a fact, am not on social media. With that being said, they jumped into the regular agenda meeting. That, by the way, took a little bit over an hour to go through all that stuff. So the regular meeting didn't start for over an hour into the meeting. They had a second reading and public hearing on a bond ordinance 2026-13, which is providing various capital improvements and acquisition of various capital equipment, appropriating $3.8 million and authorizing $1.9 million in debt. That is new money, absolutely new money. It was said at the previous meeting there is no new money in this bond ordinance. That's hogwash. 1.9 million reasons on why you should not be listening to the finance chair of the town when they make statements that there's no new money in here. $1.9 million. So there's 1.9 million reasons not to listen. Take that to bed. That's additional debt that they authorized for some roads that we're going to have done and some park improvements. There's grants there too, lots of grants for the park improvements to be offset what's going on. There was a second reading and public hearing on bond ordinance 2026-14 for the water and sewer utility in the amount of $28,000. However, I will point out that the $28,000 authorization is not included in the capital budget, and that is a violation of the statute. Even though they certified that it's in the capital budget, that $28,000 does not appear in the capital budget at all. So, they had a second reading and public hearing on bond ordinance 2026-15, authorizing $727,000 in debt for the parking utility to repave Market Yard and to purchase a vehicle. During this public hearing, a resident got up and questioned why we were buying a new vehicle. Didn't we buy 2 new vehicles when we started the utility? And Mr. Gallo informed that person that no, we only bought 1 vehicle, and we have a used vehicle that we're putting out of commission now because it's done with its useful life. That is totally untruthful. Sharon Schutzer even questioned why there was a second vehicle being bought. So I'm not sure what their counsel's being told, but there were 2 vehicles purchased when the original ordinance was done back in 2023 for the parking utility, and that was done and paid for July 17th, 2023 with purchase order 23-00557 in the amount of $61,268.50. They bought 2 Chevy Equinoxes. So if they're telling us they only bought 1, where'd the other one go? I hope it's not to be being utilized by other than the parking utility. But there were 2 vehicles purchased, so that was an untruthful statement made to our resident who got up and asked that question on that ordinance. They also said that they're doing this ordinance because they have the money now from the parking revenue. Well, if you have the money now, there's no reason that you should be authorizing $727,000 in debt. You obviously don't have the money now. You're going to use future money to pay for the debt for this project. You could have done this 3 years ago and started paying down on the debt now with the revenue that's been earned in the parking utility. So you're 3 years behind schedule with utilizing this feature that should have been done when you started the utility. Then there were 4 ordinances that had to do with second readings for our RCA program, which is our Regional Contribution Agreement program. The first 2 had to do with Freehold Township 1 and 2. And they wanted to point out the fact that there were cumulative earnings, probably going back over 20 years, that they're appropriating now, that have never been appropriated so that they can use it to continue this program. I would also advise the public, since they didn't advise the public of this, that there are cumulative sales from properties that were involved in there that are being reappropriated as well, that were included in the unappropriated reserves that they're starting with now. And there was quite a few dollars for that were never used. So we're reappropriating those funds as well from the sales of properties that were involved in the program that sold their houses within the 10-year allotment and repaid the town for the money. The second 2 ordinances on this RCA program were gathering the money that was due to us from the Township of Marlborough in the amount of $31,000 and the amount of $605,000 from the Township of Howell, which was still due to us, that they're going to collect and appropriate now and to continue these ordinances. Number 17 on the agenda was a second reading and public hearing on ordinance 2620, amending and supplementing Title 12 streets and sidewalks. That has to do with utility companies having to open up our streets when they declare that there might be an emergency. Well, now if they were to do something like this, they have to pave the road curb to curb, not just do the little patch. So we're hoping that that would help out with them thinking twice on what might be an emergency out there. But I can tell you this, what's being done right now by the gas companies, since they had already started this and this ordinance wasn't in place, probably will not have to abide by this. So those patch holes you see over on Jackson Street, Jackson Terrace, and all over that way, they'll remain that way. They had a first reading and introduction of ordinance 2621, amending the Nestle redevelopment plan, and that I think primarily had to do to make it from a non-condemnation redevelopment plan to a condemnation, to try to force Nestle's hand because they haven't been cooperating with the redeveloper that's been named J.G. Petrucci. Then we had, how many items here? We had 10 items on the consent agenda, of which one of them was pulled off the consent agenda. Basic activity that was going on here: transferring a liquor license, approving a shared service agreement with the County of Monmouth, another one with the County of Monmouth for IT tax maps, and authorizing agreements with the Neighborhood Connections to Health for mental health and addiction services. And then there's a confirming personnel committee and appointment actions under the consent agenda number 9, which had to do with the appointment of Sasha Duckenfield to the position of recreation leader for Freehold Borough effective July 1st. Resignation of several people from the fire department, engine and hose company number 1, bingo and raffle licenses, etc. We approved the bills, and then there was a correspondence from Mayor Kevin Kane to the Honorable Scott Turner, the Secretary of the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, that was filed into the record for the Borough of Freehold. And I just find it funny, and I just like to point this out, that the video for the meeting stopped because apparently we're videotaping these meetings through Steve Gallo's phone, who didn't have enough charge in order to video the rest of the meeting. I don't know what we're doing here, Freehold, but you just appropriated over $2.8 million in additional debt. Can we not pay for a system that works properly to video the meetings, where you can see everybody, hear everybody, see who's in the public, have different views of what's going on, as opposed to this little thing on the side that's being controlled by the administrator that ran out of juice? There are so many things that are better out there that we should be using to film our things so the public can see what's going on. You're spending these millions and millions of dollars on all these projects out there, and we can't get a system, a camera system and a sound system that would work so the public at home could hear what's going on. So I really, really think they should look into stuff like that. So they also mentioned the redevelopment over at Freehold Raceway. The parking lot is zoned under R10, which is for single-family homes, and the actual raceway is zoned SRO, which is a specialty retail office district. So there's a lot of things that can go in there. I know I've heard that the person who owns that is really eager to get that up and running, and hopefully the approvals can come real fast through this town, and we can get that looking back like a solid rateable in town, which would benefit everybody, and have other places to go, which would be really beneficial to the residents of this town. So it was a very informative meeting. I appreciate your time on watching the podcast tonight. And like I said, we would welcome your comments and or questions at freeholdboroughtaxpayers@gmail.com. That's FREEHOLDBOROTAXPAYERS@gmail.com. Thank you.
Turn the volume up, tune in now. What they said, what it means, clear as day between the seams. Freehold Unfiltered, Freehold Unfiltered. Hear it straight, hear it clear, for the folks right here. Freehold Unfiltered, Freehold Unfiltered. Meetings made plain, so you know what changed.